Hello guys, welcome back to another cinematic Mike review. Today I'm going to review Michael Bay's Ambulance. I'm going to let you know that Ambulance does have a lot of issues. It's crazy. But I am going to tell you that is not the reason I went to go see this film. I am going to still do my critical take on it. My I guess. I am going to let you know right away that I had a good time watching this film. So this is one that I enjoyed. I liked. I don't care about what it is. It's a Michael Bay film. So I told you guys that I knew what I was getting into in some of the previous videos. I've told you guys that I've been getting excited for since the end of last year. There was the trailer to Moonfall by Roland Emmerich, and there's the trailer to Ambulance by Michael Bay. I missed out on Moonfall, but I didn't miss out on Ambulance. I told you guys that I did want to see these films because it brought back a memory to me. I don't know why. And I guess I wasn't the only one because a lot of people are saying like what I felt too. And I guess it's something that's refreshing because of all the things we get right now. And I wanted to see these films because I told you guys that these were movies that I used to watch when I was younger. These are the movies my dad used to take me to as a kid. So this is, and in a way I kind of was like, you know what, I kind of just, something about these films is kind of calling me back for some reason. I don't know why, but it's calling me just to, you know what, why don't you just take a break from the things you watch, and go have fun really for just a little bit right here. You know, it doesn't matter, you know, just go, you know, these, you know what you're going to get when you go here. It's like I say, I'm not going in to watch this Michael Bay film and expecting something different. It's a Michael Bay film. So I know what I'm walking into when I say I'm going to go watch a Michael Bay film. The premise of the story is basically it's a heist type of, it's an action blockbuster film, but it's a bank robbers, you know, cops chasing bank robbers and all. So we got Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays Danny Sharp, and then Yahya Abdul-Mateen II, who plays Will Sharp. And they're basically brothers. They're brothers. They grew up together, adopted brothers, but they're brothers. And Jake's part, Danny, he's actually a criminal, and I think Will used to do these things too, but he ended up taking off, going into the army. Now he's a veteran. He's having issues with his wife. His wife needs to have this surgery. He doesn't have the money. The healthcare system isn't helping him out much, so it's a struggle. And so he goes and sees his brother, and then things just go south. You know, like the whole thing of bank heist gone wrong. You know, and then we got Isa. I've been hearing her name differently now, so I thought it was Isa. I'm not sure if it's Isa or her name. I don't know if I'm saying her name wrong. Isa Gonzalez is in here, who is actually great in this film. She plays an EMT, and then she gets caught up in this because her EMT gets taken by these two guys, and at the same time she's trying to save the life of a cop as these guys are basically taking them hostage and running around the city of LA with the ambulance. So the movie's kind of crazy because we barely get to meet Will, and then he goes and sees Danny like probably like 10 minutes, 5 minutes in the movie. And then he basically, this thing just jumps straight to the heist. There's no like big old setup, like a master plan of how it's all going to go down. There's no like, you know, Will kind of saying no to Danny like 2-3 times, which is what you usually get in these kind of films. You know, the brother or whatever, the friend says, nah, I'm not gonna do it. He keeps saying no, and then it comes to a point where he's like, you know what, okay, yeah, I'm gonna do it. This just happens right away, and then we're into the heist right away. So it doesn't play games. It just goes straight to it. You can't watch this film and not think of Michael Mann's Heat, and it just kind of made me laugh because I'm like, man, no heist film is ever gonna like, it's like, just, what do you say, like overshadowed by Heat, kind of, because Heat's like the master one of bank robber movies or heist films. You know, it's like the master one. So you can't see a heist film without the influences from Michael Mann's Heat, which kind of just makes me laugh because I'm like, man, no one's ever going to be able to do a heist film without like calling back on Heat, because that's like the master of all of them. So these scenes are pretty cool because they remind me of Heat, not as epic as Heat was, but it was decent enough and entertaining enough for me to watch it. And as I said, it was funny. But that first hour, this whole heist thing is actually entertaining. The action and the thrill of it all, I actually had a good time. And it's only like the whole first hour, 40 minutes or so. It may be longer, but I don't think so. I think it's like the whole hour that it was getting into it, and it's really good the first hour. So something that was kind of impressive in this film was like the characters and the writing. I really liked the beginning of it when we're getting introduced to Yahya, Jake Gyllenhaal's Will, and Danny Sharp. You know, I already explained that Will has a situation where, you know, he needs money for his wife's surgery. So he obviously has to go here and get it in this other way that he doesn't want to. Well, Danny's kind of still the crazy one. There's not much to him in the movie for that. He is pretty entertaining in this film, but there's not much to give him here that I didn't feel like these characters here, like Will, and then Isa Gonzalez, who's actually a EMT going on about her day saving lives, and then obviously from the trailers we know she's gonna get caught up with these guys and be hostage as she's trying to help someone. Then we take a look at the other two cops, the one of the cops that ends up getting injured in this film. And I like how it builds around them instead of just being like, okay, this happened and this cop right here. We don't even get to know that cop. We just like, okay, yeah, that's just, I thought it was going to be something like that. But here we actually get to know the cops. There's some chemistry between these two guys, the partners and all that. You know, the one guy wants to go on a date with the bank teller and he kind of chicken out. And then his partner's like, nope, we're going to go get you. So you kind of having some connection to these characters. And that's what I loved about it. And when I was watching it, I was like, damn, this is actually good for like writing and all that. I'm like, I could talk about this in my video, you know, where you don't just straight out just put a character there without anything, just kind of just to be there, you know. These kind of character, this is a way to kind of connect and kind of with the character and make the story more interesting, just giving them a backstory, you know, all that, having some chemistry, you know. That way we feel for these characters as it goes along. So I thought that was good, and it would have made it more thrilling, you know. And we got Will, Danny, then we got Isa, who's Cam. We got, I forgot the part in these two guys that are the cops. So that was great, you know. And I was like, yeah, this is good. This is good right here. This is right. So I could talk about this in my video. And then later on, more characters pop up, and then I'm like, okay, this is good. This is good. And I'm like, wait, is this good? I'm like, I think this is kind of bad. I think this is a warning we used to get where when we write, you can't write too many characters, you know, because then you lose your way on like who's the main character, who's the story about, you know. It's just way too many characters. And that's why I think I say that the first hour is good, because I think it ends up getting lost towards like the middle because all these characters get introduced like other ones. And so that's the part where I was like, oh, okay, never mind. I'm like, this is the part that's kind of bad right here. Way too many characters. I like the setup. I like that whole beginning with those because they would have made it for a thrilling ride. It's still a thrilling ride here, but it's not as perfect as it could have been right here. And this was just a great start. So that first hour is kind of a little great start right there, but it loses its way with bringing in all these characters. So yeah, so don't write too many characters in a film. Like it might have worked out if you would have just condensed it a little bit. Something I admire a lot, even though some movies probably aren't that great from these directors, but sometimes I like when directors actually take the time to see what's the new toy out there, what's the new technology out there, and they try to push it to try to push, you know, filmmaking in another way and an innovating way and impressive way and all that, you know. And right here, what I got interested in seeing like the behind the scenes when this movie was being promoted was that Michael Bay was going to use drones, which we've had drones for a while, but he was doing this thing of these guys that use drones to get these shots. And so I was like, oh, cool. I kind of want to see what he does with that, you know, because like I say, sometimes it gets interesting, like Mark Neville-Dine and Brian Taylor. I think they were the directors of Ghost Rider 2 and Crank, I think. I think they used to do these things, this thing where they were on on roller skates and they would just film. So I always thought that was pretty cool. I mean, the movies might have been not too much to my liking, but I always admire when directors are doing something crazy. As long as you're doing something new or trying, there's kind of some respect there. And so he was doing this drone thing, and so I got interested. And as I saw it in the film, I was like, okay. So I saw all the shots, and to be honest, when you use something like this, you got to use it for the benefit of the story and all that. But right here, it seems like he's just using it just because it looks cool. There's like no point to it, to be honest, beside it looking okay. So I'm like twisting, going like all around, you know, and all through this building. There is one shot, I forgot which one it was, which was interesting, but most of them are kind of like pointless to me, you know. So I didn't find it that impressive. It kind of just like, oh, you just did it just to do that, you know. What I love about this story is, yes, it's the typical kind of cliche bank robber story, thriller, you know, yeah, cop car chase and all that. We've seen this movie so many times. Something, again, I knew what I was getting into going to this film. But what I loved about it is that it was kind of they knew what they were doing. The whole self-aware word that they used, they knew what they were doing, because there's a scene where one of the cops, and when they're talking about the whole bank robber, they're like, people still rob banks. It's like kind of saying like, wow, we still have these movies, these bank robber movies, you know, because we've had these so many times that They're kind of cliche already. That's why I was like, you can't get a good bank robber movie anymore because it's just already been done to like it's already kind of been done way so many times. So it's hard even for me, like who's a fan of those movies. I don't even know when was the last one that I saw. It would have been probably something like Drive or something like The Town. But after that, I don't know. You just can't really get into it much when you've seen so many of them, and they kind of just copy off the other one, or you see that they're just trying to copy Heat, and they can't go in a new direction anymore because Heat's kind of like the master one. So I love that. There's also a scene where I think either one of the brothers says something like, "You can't go to LA and not be in the LA River or somewhere," where it's basically saying kind of also the same thing. Like you can't film a LA movie or an LA bank robber movie without being shot here, kind of like type of thing. So I love that it kind of brought some fun to it and kind of was like, yes, we know we're making this movie that you guys have seen so many times throughout these years and all that. So we know about that. We're not trying to say like, oh, okay, but it made it a little bit fun, which is what I liked about it. One thing that got annoying and kind of just made me laugh was that every time that these guys were on the highway, it seemed like they were going towards downtown LA. And you would have, the way this movie plays out, it's like, okay, shouldn't you guys have already gone past downtown LA or like got there already? Because it always cuts to a scene with them on a different highway and you can always see downtown LA's like landmark and they're always going there. And I'm like, is there like a glitch or is this like deja vu? I'm like, do you guys not notice that you guys are just still going towards the same spot? Like, and it kind of just brought some funniness to it, but it also made my eyes roll. Like, this is just so stupid because, dude, you guys should have been past the downtown LA already. It would have been a good thrill ride if you what I said that it would have been cool if you would have started a little bit before LA or around there, and then you went past it, and then by the end of the movie you end up in like Oxnard or somewhere else, like way farther out. So that would have been cool and a little bit realistic, but again, we're in a Michael Bay film, so this is just craziness right here. So that's something that I noticed that kind of just like was like, oh well, you guys are on the same highway, on a different highway, but going to the same. You guys are still going towards downtown LA, which is something you guys were doing like 3 scenes back or just like right before this, and I'm like, you guys still haven't got there. So yeah, it felt like it was just like a restart. The action is great in here. It's something that's what I said in the beginning, the first hour, with the characters and all, getting to know the characters and the situation that happens with this whole bank robbery gone wrong and all that heist gone wrong. And the action in it is actually captures you and everything and pulls you in and nonstop. I did say like towards like the middle is kind of where you lose your way because of the characters, because we end up getting more characters. But throughout the film, the action is like entertaining to watch. There's not like a part where I'm just like, I'm not entertained by the action. I'm kind of am having a little bit of fun with the action in this film right here. We all know Michael Bay. They know him as a lot of his action, what they call Bayham now. So it's all that right there. And one of the scenes that I was looking forward to as I was watching the trailer to this film, getting ready to watch it, I was looking forward to a scene where Jake Gyllenhaal is like on the window and aiming at the helicopter that's hovering right above the ambulance. And I was looking so forward to that scene. And then when we get to that scene, it was so funny. I laughed because this is an issue that it has in the movie, but I kind of laughed at this and I think people in the theater laughed too. When you watch it and you look at the person there, it's a stunt double. It's not Jake Gyllenhaal. You can straight out tell that it's a stunt double and it's not Jake, which kind of made me a little bit sad. And I'm like, oh man, it's not him. But then again, I'm like, wow, it's kind of like something that would be in like a 90s film where we wouldn't see the actual star and it's actually their stunt double. So I was like, oh, well, so that kind of goes, I let it go right there. So it was kind of funny though. We were all laughing in the theater because we knew it wasn't Jake. But that was the scene that I was looking forward to, with him on the window, outside the car window, and aiming up at the helicopter as it's hovering above them. The scene that actually kicks that off right before that happens is like one of my most favorite scenes in the film. And I'm gonna explain why, because they park in the LA River. Jake and his Danny and his brother Will, they parked in the river and they're like near the bridge. And then all of a sudden, Danny is surprised by this helicopter that just kind of surprises him, that comes underneath the bridge and flies under it and just going through it. And in a way, when I saw that, I kind of was shocked and I was like, whoa. I was like, did they really do that? And then I was like, and then it brought some kind of joy, like some happiness to me. And I couldn't tell why. And, and it reminded me of a film, Swordfish. I'm not sure if you guys seen the movie with John Travolta, Swordfish. There's a scene where the helicopter actually takes the bus and is hovering over LA, is flying over LA. And that scene, I know it was shot for real. Because there's all this talk about it around the time. And my brother, he was actually on the highway when they shot that scene, and I remember him coming back home and telling us, I saw a helicopter pull up a bus. I think they were shooting a movie. And then when Swordfish came out, he's like, that's what I saw when I was on the highway. I saw that happening, the whole helicopter. And like I said, it brought some kind of shock and joy. And I'm like, why am I so shocked and like so happy? And I was just like, did they really do that? And some happiness. I'm like, you know what? And it made me realize how much I missed that in movies when they would do crazy stunts like that. And movies don't really do that type of stuff now. We only have all the CGI crap that doesn't even do anything as impressive or as fun as doing some crazy stunts like this, which was amazing and something I really miss in movies. So it brought that joy back. I'm like, oh my god, this was just beautiful to just kind of go back a little bit there, just to have it in a time like this when we're just like pure not being creative or anything, or not having fun with filmmaking at least. And just like right here, this was just a kind of a little joy right there, and it really hit me. And I was like, oh my god, that's why I think that's probably my most favorite scene in the film. There is some CGI in this movie, which I was shocked because I'm like, Michael Bay, I'm like, he relied on CGI. But then I read up on it and I saw that I guess this movie was actually didn't have the budget as much as other movies that he has. It was a kind of a tight budget for him for this type of film. But so I was like, oh, okay, I understand. And there's some talk about him with CGI and all that. So me, I was shocked because I'm like, I know like a robot, yeah, but like with there's a helicopter, and I think there's a ambulance or a car that exploded. I'm like, that looks CGI. That doesn't look real. I'm like, coming from Bay, I'm like, I don't know. But I did read up that it was, I guess, the budget and all that. But still, even with the craziness of the budget, look at all the craziness that he did with that. In this time when all these movies are actually doing kind of have a big old budget. That's what I say. I'm like, these guys always have the money. It's not like they don't have money. It's something I talk with friends. It's not like these big studios don't have money. I mean, they have all the money in the world, yet they can't do anything creative or innovative. And yet they want to be praised for the work that they did, which wasn't even pushing anything of filmmaking. It was just there and fast. They don't care about that stuff. All they care about is making money back. And right here, it's just like amazing how that's why I think this is kind of refreshing to me, is because of all this. It's kind of a little like breath of fresh air, like oh, thank God. And it's just like different from the things that we get now. I missed it in a way. In this day and age, we're overrun by franchise movies, superhero movies, Marvel movies and all. So doing something like this, as I said, it was refreshing, and was great for this time. When I saw this film, it reminded me of the 90s movies, which is one of the reasons I went to go see it too, because it reminded me of the Michael Bay films I used to watch. The Michael Bay films that I have, I know it's not a Roland Emmerich disaster film, but it also reminded me of the time of when I was fascinated by Roland Emmerich's disaster films, which I have too in my collection. So it reminded me of those 90s films, those movies that I have that I was a fan of a lot when I was younger. And these were the movies that I wanted to make when I said I wanted to be a director. I'm like, these are my idols. These are my favorite directors. It wasn't the ones that I consider my favorite now. These are the movies I wanted to watch, where I was just into, I'm not into action film anymore that much. But this was calling me kind of a little nostalgia of the 90s and me being a kid at the time and all that. So these were the movies that I wanted to make right before The Social Network took me in another direction. The Social Network is responsible for me going into a more critical way of filmmaking and wanting to be a filmmaker in that way. A smart person doesn't go into a Michael Bay film and expect like The Irishman, The Shape of Water, The Godfather. You go in expecting the craziness, stupidness, fun of a Michael Bay film, who is like an author to action blockbuster cinema. He's basically, I always like, when you think of the master of action blockbuster, to me at that time, just like I would think of the probably master of like mob movies would be Scorsese. I mean, the master of like kind of crime thrillers would be Michael Mann. Everyone has their thing. And when I would think back then when I was younger, when I knew these guys, I still know them, but I haven't watched their movies in these past years if they've had any much. But what I wanted to say is that, he's like an author of this, just the way of action blockbuster, just the way that Roland Emmerich, who was also, as I said, I was a fan of the, like at that time, I still have his movies in my collection because it reminds me that, what, this was a time when I actually liked them. I won't throw it out of my collection because it reminds me of, like, you know what, this is where I started. I started with these kind of movies, of action movies and disaster movies. Roland Emmerich's known as the, to me, like, he's probably the master of like disaster movie, world ending type of movies, which is why I kind of was like, oh my God, we're going to have a Michael Bay and Roland Emmerich film coming out soon, a Moonfall and Ambulance. And it just kind of fit, to be honest, because it was when I was a kid, and like I said, I still have these right behind me, all the movies from when I was younger, 2012, 10,000 BC, Armageddon, those movies that were big time for me at the time. There's a part of me that is like, man, Bay could have made this into a great thriller, like Speed, or Collateral, which would have fit perfectly for Isaac Gonzalez's part, because she does so well. And the way it builds up to the end, I was like, yeah, it does. It's great. It's wonderful, and I love it. But I'm like, it could have been more to get to that part too, which is something I felt like it was trying to do too. But I felt they could have been more to lead up to that part of the end. So I thought it would have been great if he would have done. He had the story and all that there. He had the potential to make a great like thriller like Collateral and Speed. But he made a Michael Bay film. But then again, Bay did say in a time, he said something. I remember I read an interview with him when he said something like, I make movies for teenagers, because I think they're criticized. He's a director that's criticized a lot. He's not making something, like I already said, like some masterclass, like Oscar worthy type of potential movie, he's making the movies that he makes. And he said it at the time, and I kind of respected what he said. He's like, I'm making movies for teenagers. And this is basically what I was trying to say earlier. I used to see these films when I was a kid. These are the movies I wanted to make. These were still the kind of films that I was watching as a teen too. As I said, right before I got into a certain film that led me into another direction after that. These were the movies I wanted to make. I'm not into action movies anymore. So that I kind of had to respect when he said that, because I do think every kind of age kind of needs its thing, but as long as it's doing something great, it's always okay with me. When you're not doing anything for it, then that's trouble. But he said that, so I kind of respected that in a way. But it's complicated. There's a part of me that would like to say, hey, please listen to the critics, because I think you have the potential to do something great that will stand out as much. Not the official critics, not the New York Times, not Time Magazine, none of those, but like the critics like us, or the ones that are on YouTube, the ones on social media, us. Listen to some of us that see that you have the potential to make something. You had a story there, you have all this stuff, and it could be a great thriller like Michael Mann's Collateral or Speed and all that, as I said. But but then again, it's Michael Bay, and there's something that I love about him that's kind of, so there, it's complicated for me, because there's that part that I do want to say that to Michael Bay. But then there's a part where I kind of like that F you to the critics type. He has this kind of like punk rebel type of style to him, where he's like, you know what, F the critics and all that. I'm going to do what the hell I want, So there's something that I admire about him from that. The other thing that this film actually reminded me of, it reminded me a lot when I was younger, when I was a kid, and I would come up with these stories with my sister, with my nephews, with my cousins, like bank robbers, police, chasing. And I remember the times we would always make the noise of the crashes, the explosions, the cliche dialogue. We would come up with our own stories of the things that we would see in movies. And I love that. It kind of brought back that kind of, as I said, nostalgia feeling. And I think it knows that too. It's kind of like, what I said, self-aware of what type of film it's doing. Also, yes, this is going to be that cliche heist type of thriller thingy. So it's something that was really fun. The movie has a lot of issues like the ones I said, but that is not the reason I went to go watch this film. I went knowing what I was going to get, and I got it, and I had a lot of fun with it. For this movie, it reminded me of that word where it's you have to have the suspension of disbelief, kind of knowing that. And that's what's cool about this. It's kind of just playing it that way. It's not trying to be realistic, grounded. We're making it, we're grounding this story. It has to, this is what that cop would do. This is what would happen. There's a lot of stupid things in here, man. And it's just like, come on, Armageddon. There's stupid things in that, but it's suspension of disbelief. You just do that stuff, So I'm going to bring up the other movie that's out this weekend, Sonic, which I did a review on already. And I want to bring up that I am actually happy that Sonic actually took into consideration the complaints that I had, that many others had, which was the first one was lame. and you guys needed to work on it for people that still love that character and want a good story, wanted to represent the world of the video game and all that, and not just like do something where you're only aiming at little kids and not kind of going to the all ages type of thing. And they worked it out now. So with Sonic 2, Sonic 2 is great. I'm glad that we got a blockbuster action film, like the old school Michael Bay films, the old school 90s films, and not a action blockbuster film from like a franchise film, an IP film that we usually get now. As I said, it was a breath of fresh air with this. It also reminded me of one of my favorite film directors, Tony Scott, too, who I miss so much. And I was just thinking about him like the other week. It reminded me of his films from like his last years, like The Taking of Pelham 1, 2, 3, Unstoppable, and I think he was great. And just seeing this, I was like, oh my God, it reminds me a little bit of Tony Scott too. Seeing Sonic, seeing Ambulance, I think that it's a good weekend for movies. And it actually got me emotional as I was writing my notes for this video. By the time I was done, I kind of wanted to tear up for some reason. And I'm like, because like I said, it's just amazing that some people are taking into consideration us who love storytelling, who are tired of the same thing that we're given at the movie theater. And it's just amazing. I really got emotional by the end of the whole notes and all that and getting ready to do this. I'm like, damn, I'm really happy. And I've been promoting this on my social media to people. I'm like, go watch these two films. It's a fun weekend for movies right now. So just go out there, go watch these films and just have a hell of a time out there. So yeah, that's my review on Michael Bay's Ambulance. If you guys enjoyed my video, please hit that like button and subscribe. And as always, thank you for watching.